that me?
You're on, Jeb.
Okay. Now my lights are going on and off. Okay. This is this show is called Poetry is Anarchy, and it's obviously amateur hour with me, Jeb Platt. Now I need to read this disclaimer before I start. Welcome to show name Poetry is Anarchy. My name is Jeb Platt. I'm producer of the show. The things you will hear over the next length of the show represent views of the show name with Poetry is Anarchy and the people making them. All opinions and quotations in no way represent River West Radio and are the sole responsibility of the producer, guests, and callers. The River West Radio is not liable for any legal issues arising from this content of this program. And those of you that listened in before know that we have usually two other poets, and each poet reads their poem, reads one poem at a time, and then we discuss it and then reread it again, because as most people that have gone to poetry readings know, we hear 9 or 10 or 11 poets, and personally I can't remember what the first person said, much less anybody else. So I'm not the sharpest knife in the drawer, so I need to have them read twice. And we're real fortunate here. We have 3 people that have something in common. We've all volunteered at People's Bookstore. And I'm going to ask Jennifer to start and tell a little bit, because there's a big move going on with People's Bookstore. And I'm going to ask Jennifer to start by telling what's going on with People's Bookstore. And Jennifer is, I heard Jennifer at People's Bookstore read, and she knocked me off, just knocked my socks off. Her poetry is sensuous, it's intellectual, and it's exciting. It's everything I want in a poem, and I can feel it. You know, it makes me feel. And you'll know that after you hear Jennifer Pickard read. But I'd like her to talk a little bit about what's going on in People's Bookstore, knowing that all 3 of us have a part of it, you know. And we've all been volunteers, and it's an extraordinary thing. So, Ms. Pickard, if you would start out and tell us a little bit what's going on with People's Bookstore.
Well, thank you for all the flattery. I'm not sure I can live up to it, but it's appreciated. People's Books actually just made a really exciting move. We moved from the East Side neighborhood to River West. We're going to be at 804 East Center Street now, which is right next to Cafe Centro. And I think it'll be a much better location because this community is much more supportive of the sort of thing we're trying to do. And after all that backbreaking labor of moving, we're actually holding a big event tomorrow night at 5 p.m. at the River West Public House. It's a sort of a re-birthday party. We've been a co-op for 5 years, and to celebrate the move, to celebrate that, and yeah, to try to raise a little funds so that we can get some new stock and make the store a little spiffier than it is right now. It is a bit of a fundraiser, so please come to that. Admission is free. There will be a raffle and a silent auction, and Christine Newman-Ortiz from Voces de la Frontera will be speaking, so it should be really good. And Jacob Green will be playing some music, and Michael Bootson will also be playing some classical guitar to start us off. So it would be really great if you could make that. So should I go ahead and start with the poem, or?
No, I think you said, and I think it's important to remember that it is a cooperative, and that's what we're all about. You get books that you'll never get anywhere else. People's Bookstore will order any book for you, and it's just a cool place to hang out and read. I don't know how many times I've gone in and just sat on the couch and read a book, and nobody pressures you into buying a book. You know, you can read and enjoy.
Yeah, and I mean, it's just a different model than all the other bookstores. It's actually a different model of doing business, you know, in America. And I mean, just to keep that alive, just to support something that has a different kind of, you know, philosophy on transactions and everything. You know, we need a chip in the armor of the way that we do commerce here, and so I say everyone should shop there. They've got pretty much all books on order. And it's not an advertisement because it's not owned by anybody. It's a cooperative. And so...
Absolutely, and there's something to be said for reading something from a piece of paper where you don't have to recharge the battery as well. So
only people your age would think about that, you know.
Well, I don't personally have one, but
Yeah,
I've seen that complaint before, and I'm just like,
oh Lord, yeah, I can't
have to
imagine.
stop reading because the battery ran down. Okay.
Yes, and it just and to me it's like having a cup of coffee in a ceramic cup as opposed to having a cup of coffee in a plastic or paper cup.
Sure.
It's all the difference in the world, and I think we can all relate to that. So Jennifer, if you'd, baby, it's showtime.
All right. I'm going to start with a poem called Tracks. And, yeah, so poem's called Tracks. We take the train. We let the train take us. I touch your motionless hand. We roll, a slow steel worm, segments sliding over cold rails, over dry, dirty bones, caked in fine, silty loam, thrown, pulled from their home, rusty spikes tossed aside, wriggling over headless roots, choking rivers. What's it like to be a train, howling out into the night, unanswered by the phantom wolves of postcard forests? What's it like to be the tracks, to lay ourselves down, stretch ourselves out, interlock and overlap, always running on time? Are you coming?
Woo.
You know, I noticed you left out one of my favorite parts.
Oh.
When you said sliding over cold rails, you wrote segments sliding over old cold rails.
Oh, that's right. I did skip that.
But I really like that part.
Well, thank you.
I like those subtle rhymes you got in there.
I was thinking the same thing about loam and thrown being such a perfect slant rhyme, you know? And so I'm getting loam, which is so venerable and so nebulous, to thrown, which is just so bam, and pulled from their home. And I was brought up, I'm a Southern boy, so I was brought up around trains and watching trains and fantasizing about trains. And one of my perfect images that I did ever since I was a little kid, was put the nickel on a train, on the train track, and watch it get flattened, you know. I love that kind of thing. And the train was my way out of here. I had to get out of here, and the train was a way to get out. And so that whole idea of train is just a romantic image to me. And I touch your motionless hand as we roll, and to me that's so subtle, you know, and just a touch. But I never thought of a slow steel worm. But that just flips me. That kind of flips the script. I never seen a train as a slow steel worm, but it is. So you open my eyes, and the segments, and old cold rails. And
yeah, I think about worms a lot. I encounter them a lot in my daily tasks, I guess. But I don't know. I think I tend to cloak, metaphorically cloak what I'm really getting at really deeply. And I don't know if that's because I just don't want anybody to know what I'm really thinking or talking about. In a way, the poetry has always been a way to express something without being able to keep it private at the same time. And actually, I think this poem, because I hide it even from myself, I think this poem is about the unintended consequences of development and expansion, because you have the train and it's sliding over the bones and the headless roots and the things that the train destroys, but then the train itself is also dying because the next thing is coming along to take its place. So that's kind of what I'm getting at.
And then your phantom wolves of postcard forests. You know, I mean, I certainly don't see wolves in postcard forests, and I see wolves are a special feeling to me, and the fact that the postcard just totally flips it for me. So I'm not sure whether I'm hearing real wolves or not real wolves, because I want to hear real wolves, But these are obviously not real wolves, and then they are for real wolves. So it's going to make. I'm going to ponder this. I'm just saying. And
Do you want the answer as I see it?
yeah, I do.
The wolves are phantoms because they're gone, they're dead, and
Okay.
the postcard forests only exist in the old postcards because they were also leveled. So that's the things that you should be hearing but you're not. The
Okay.
things you should be seeing but you're not.
That makes that flips the script for me, Jennifer. And
Everything's really cynical in my poetry, if that helps.
It doesn't seem that cynical to me, but that's just example of everybody having their own
Sure,
interpretation.
sure.
well, I think it's cynical as hell. I disagree with you, Mark.
It's
You know,
not- it's not
I
cynical.
think that is cynical. I think it's just true. It's a true statement. And now that you said that, because it's such a joy when you're out in the world and you hear a wolf howl and all that kind of thing. But there's no question they're disappearing.
So how do you see it as positive or optimistic?
I don't know. Like, I guess my guess is that you wrote this while you were riding on a train,
Yeah.
and like obviously it was a powerful trip. Like,
Well, that's true, yeah.
emotionally for you, and I've had moments like that too, and that part I touch, emotionless hand.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like that's kind of all there is. I mean, the line before it, we let the train take us. So, I mean, you could be talking about everybody on the train, but I touch your motionless hand. I'm guessing it wasn't like the guy that randomly was sitting next to you. So, but then, you don't really talk more about that, but that right there, you're kind of talking about metaphor to signify more of what's going on. And it's not, although it's not a metaphor, I think it's that one sentence is like representative of a lot of what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
And leave it at that. Seems like.
Yeah, to me, the emotionless hand, touch the emotionless hand, is so romantic and so subtle, And I don't know why the hand's motionless, whether the person is not responding or whether it's just a casual, hand where we're lovers. We know we're lovers.
It's meant to be a bit ambiguous on that front.
Okay.
Yeah, and I don't know, and I really don't want to know because I want this motionless hand to be my hand, and that we're that comfortable with each other. That's what I want to hear. See, and so that's why I like it. And it's like one of the greatest lines ever written was Paul Simon. A man hears what he wants to hear and disregards the rest. So that's what I want to hear. I want to hear the woman next to me touching my hand, my motionless hand, and just letting them know that, hey, I'm here, and we're here, and we don't have to make a big deal of it.
Yeah, I think that actually kind of the poem being about unintended consequences and the unintended consequences of your own words. Everybody gets something out of your words that they're looking for. So it's definitely part of the point of poetry, as opposed to just saying what you're saying via prose.
Mm-hmm. And see, then you end up, and this is what ties it in so well with me, you ended up with interlock and overlap, always running on time, and are you coming? And of course, that takes me to immediately sexual. Bam, bam, bam. And or that's sexual, sensual. I mean, just, the subtle. And this is why I've always liked your poetry, Jennifer. It can be bold and subtle at the same time. And then now when you're going to read it again, I'm going to get a whole lot different out of this.
Mm-hmm.
And do you have anything more to add before we get to hear it again?
All I'll say is I've heard lots of poems about trains, but I like it.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, do it again, Jennifer, if you would.
All right. Tracks. We take the train. We let the train take us. I touch your motionless hand. We roll, a slow steel worm, segments sliding over old, cold rails, over dry, dirty bones, caked in fine, silty loam, thrown, pulled from their home, Rusty spikes tossed aside, wriggling over headless roots, choking rivers. What's it like to be a train, howling out into the night, unanswered by the phantom wolves of postcard forests? What's it like to be the tracks, to lay ourselves down, stretch ourselves out, interlock and overlap, always running on time? Are you coming?
Once again, I love your silty lone throne. You know, now I see it. I see that as a lot more erotic image, contrasted with the over dry, dirty bones, caked in fine. And then you have now it's caked in fine, silty lone throne, pulled from their home, and the whole destruction. I see it sexual, and I also see it like. Every one of us has seen these railroad tracks that, you know, are not used and being thrown.
Mm-hmm.
And this takes me back to my own history with my grandfather. And he was a great carpenter, and he used to take these ties and make, and use dowels to put together picnic tables,
Mm-hmm.
things like that. And so this is exactly what it takes to, you know, what your poem touches Jeb Platt is a whole nother image of my grandfather, which is a beautiful image of making things like that. But every youngster that's ever lived in the country, I lived with my grandfather in the country for some time, and that train was always pulling me away.
Yeah, a train is something like a magic carpet, and it's a pity we don't have more of them that we can go places in these days, I think. So.
Well, it's and that's one of the things I love about River West. We have all these train people that ride the train right outside our door, in front of Fuel Cafe, in probably in May to October. There's always train people, and these youngsters are so tough, you know, and so adventurous, and it's just one of the joys of living in River West. So, this is really good, by the way.
Well, thank you.
And then now, and your interlock and interlap. If that's not love making, I don't know what is. You know, but subtle, but nice. So, yeah. What else you got to add, Mark?
I don't know. I mean, I don't really have anything else this time. Like, just trains. Such a big part of America. You know, it was like one of the first ways that everybody got across the country. And you know, there's just something really powerful about riding on a train.
Mm-hmm.
And I've written stuff about trains before.
I think it's something to do with the fact that you don't have full control over where you're going.
Yeah,
yeah, that's a good point.
You're not in control of where you're going, and it's like a really huge, big, heavy, fast thing that you're riding on, and you don't have any control over it. You know, especially when you're riding on a freight train, it's so bumpy and it's so dangerous. Or even in a passenger train, you know, you're going so fast.
And they can't really stop, so, you know.
But really, you can just sit back and enjoy the ride.
Yeah.
So you've been a train rider?
Yeah, I was for a while.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you got a whole different perspective, kind of like more my perspective of it than some other people.
I guess so.
Yeah.
You know, I haven't done it in a while, but I'm guessing this was on a passenger train, which I've ridden passenger trains too. And
it was the Amtrak from Houston to Tucson.
Nice.
Yeah.
I'd prefer to ride a passenger train over a plane any day.
Yeah.
So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I have no question it's a passenger train, but this adds something because this has to open up to your mind to whole different things than. I was never a train rider. In my day, we hitchhiked, you know, and so you bring a whole different aspect to your life, you know. And
well, yeah, I mean, this one part, unanswered by phantom wolves of postcard forests. You know, when you drive down the interstate in the United States, or even down any suburban road or back road, I mean, there's so much. Everything's developed off the side of the road, and riding on trains. You really see parts of the country that, you know, are not very walked on at all. You know, really untapped. And I'm sure every inch of this country has had a footprint on it, but, you know, these parts where the freight trains go through, or even passenger trains, I mean, they have to have the easiest straight through cut where there's the least amount of stuff in the way.
Mm-hmm.
So it's pretty empty and open, and I mean that's why it's more like a postcard in that sense. You know?
And that's why that postcard is so interesting, because that says so much, you know, because Amtrak is so much different than the city of New Orleans, for example, that kind of train, you know, and so I think the more romantic thing, if Motionless Hand, it touches me in that way, you know, and it's you did a good job, girl.
Thank you.
And I knew you would. I knew you would, because you're always gonna, you know, I'm always taken away by your poetry, and I've heard you numerous times at the People's Bookstore.
Yeah,
And
it's been a while since we've had an open mic night, but we need to bring that back.
We sure do, because but you would have been my first choice, period. So.
Well, thank you very much.
And I've listened to People's Bookstores before. Okay, Mark, my friend, it's your turn, and
Okay, it's gonna be this other one right here first.
the Airwalk.
No, the other one right here.
I Am a Dinosaur.
Yeah, it's called I Am a Dinosaur.
You look kind of like a dinosaur.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I am one.
yeah,
But
and a sea creature.
there might be some extemporaneous revision going on here. I don't know. Okay. I'm a dinosaur. I'm a sea creature. I was a person. I'm not really your friend. I'm this dull pencil. Birds' sharp beaks bark like dogs from a million years ago, with the first humans, and you. And I am keys. I am birds. I am your coffee shop. You are nothing. I am not you. Please. Sick Slayer. F. Dope Dread. I am a dinosaur. A T-Rex to be exact. I am a fucking knife. The blade can't cut with no hand on the handle. I'm a cigarette lighter. I'm a sea creature, hating when good hats get old and nothing fits right. I'm a motor in Greece. I am your friend. I love you. I am Herman Melville, alive and inspired. I am fire and smoke and wood and the smell in clothes. I am secrets. I am wood chopped and cut. I am air. I am nothing. You are so glorious, I wish I could weep in your glory. I love you. Kill me with a knife, because evolution is a scam. I am a pizza fresh out the oven. I am fucking love of all kinds. I am syringes and their contents. I am a functional family. I am beauty and appreciated. I am a big wave surfer. The moon is my food. I am grains in wood and fiber. I am technology. I am a dinosaur. I wish you would kill me. I am Charles Bukowski and don't even want to be. I am totally awakened and present. I am a peasant. I am that. So so what? I am extinct. I am your eyes. I.
Man,
Wow.
it knocks me out.
You know, this reminds me of that song "God" by John Lennon. I don't know if that's
I guess
a
it's
compliment or
kinda
not. It's just the litany, the list, but it's definitely a different tone because it's not things you don't believe in. It's the things that you are or that you identify with, or in that moment seemed. Maybe
I don't even remember writing
you don't
it,
even
so-
remember writing it. Well, that's impressive.
So I don't know what I was thinking.
I think my favorite line is "The moon is my food."
Yeah, with the surfer you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah, it tastes pretty
Yeah,
good.
with the.
A little hot sauce. And
Well, the surfer needs the moon for the waves,
That's
right?
that's what I'm thinking. That is exactly, and the moon is, and see, because you got this I and you, and everybody knows that. I mean, the moon is feminine. The waves are feminine. The ocean is feminine, and it's all that. And I'm beauty unappreciated, and a big wave surfer. That's so incongruent. I don't know what the hell you're saying. You know, and I love that, because if you're a big wave surfer, your beauty totally appreciated by me. But then you got the grains and wood and fiber. I mean, that's so I mean, I taste that in my mouth when you say that, yeah? You see me making my mouth, it's
Yeah.
horrible, man. And so, the moon, to me, is total nourishment. And I'm glad about your technology being a dinosaur, too.
Right. Yeah, dinosaurs, I mean, they kind of are technology if you think about it.
How's that? Go with that, tell me.
Well, I mean, you know, they were like a technological innovation set up by nature in order to like eat smaller animals.
Hmm?
Hmm.
You know? So
And at this point, our
I'm
understanding...
interrupting you.
Oh.
I'm interrupting you, Jennifer. But see, I'm playing with it a little further, you know, and with technology being dinosaurs, you know, I mean, they were the most powerful thing in the world for what, billion, millions of years, a long, long time. But sometime, even the technology is going to be stomped. You know, the technology we have now is going to be stomped. You know, and what we think of technology now, 1,000 years from now, wow. You were
Well, the
saying.
conflation between dinosaurs and technology is even more appropriate, which I don't think you even get until you think about it, but most of our technology is powered by a liquid that's originated from dinosaurs and the plants they hung out with, so...
Mm.
yeah, that's exactly what I was going. for.
Yeah?
No, I'm just kidding.
No.
I didn't do that.
Well, that's great.
Yeah.
So,
See, I'm glad you guys met. See, I didn't see that, Jennifer, and I'm glad you and Mark did. See, that's why I like this show. As I told you all from the beginning, I determine whether or not any show works, anything,
I think one of the things... Oh, I think...
anything that.
yeah.
Let me finish, Jennifer. Anything that expands my way of thinking is working. So this show is working because my mind is being expanded. You know, and that's what it's all about.
me too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you were saying, Jennifer?
Well, I think one of the things that you do really well is, you know, I'm gathering that on some level this is a love poem, because there's a you,
Sort of. I guess.
sort of like I am not you, you are so glorious, I wish I could weep, but you're doing a really good job of capturing both the good side and the painful side of that, because you know, why don't you stab me with a knife, but I'm a pizza fresh out of the oven, which is a good thing.
Mhm.
I think. So, you know, Herman Melville alive and inspired,
Well,
but
it's
wood
just like-
also wood chopped. So,
It's just like, you know, I could say I'm Herman Melville and Charles Bukowski, and it's like most people who write poetry would like never. I'm not saying that I'm like better than them, but like, you know, to say that, you know, like that you're these guys, and it's like, who cares, you know? I'll just like say it, like, in a good place, you know, and just say something that I don't know. I guess I was just trying to put myself out there and say weird stuff. That's all I was doing.
Well, the best lines, in my opinion, are the ones you didn't say that I'm going to say because it makes the poem. Please, Six Slayer, fuck, Dope Dread, I'm a dinosaur. And that Dope Dread is so good. And it needed the two F words in it to really ring true. I mean, didn't it to you, Jennifer?
no, wait, I mean, I'm going to actually sing the praises of the F-bomb briefly, because I actually had an instructor once tell me that it was the most beautiful word, the most powerful word in the English language, which is why it's the most forbidden, because it has that lovely soft sound, and then it sort of slides into this like cacophonous hard ending, and it basically sounds like what it is, so it's the most effective word of all. It's essentially the word that can mean anything. So it is essentially the word that would epitomize the English language, and yet it's the one that we're not supposed to say.
Exactly, and it's also probably the most universal word ever. I mean, you go anywhere, people are gonna know fuck, you know. So
Yeah, it's almost like not even a word. You know, what's the definition
Yeah.
of fuck? Like sex? I mean,
Yeah, but
really,
Yeah.
it's more like a mantra, I think.
mhm.
you know, I use it every time I like trip over the lilies on my way in the door. You know, it's just like the
Now talk about it. Now, to
exclamation.
talk about an interesting thing, tripping over the lilies. You
They're
know?
in the way.
and they make sense. You know, I love that. Yeah. You know, so
Lilies.
They grew. I didn't ask them to grow there.
I don't know why I decided to censor that part.
Well, you did because I asked you to on
And
this.
you didn't
this-
elsewhere in the poem, which is interesting.
Yeah, I thought,
Well,
I
no,
thought
no,
I
I
could
d- I-
get away with it in other parts because
Yeah.
it was like more subtle. And,
Yeah, but see, I had to read
that's-
this silly disclaimer, and since we read this disclaimer, you can say pretty much what you want, but I also really am disgusted by, sometimes it's a perfect word, and that worked perfect in that poem, and that's what I'm talking about. What makes that poem right? But you're exactly right, that blade can't cut with no hand on the handle, and I'm a cigarette lighter. And how many times I think
That's probably
every
my least favorite line in the whole poem. Like
really?
about the blade, I tried to think of other stuff. Like it's just so cliche to me, and but I don't know. I actually got in a really long Facebook discussion over that line with somebody.
Did
trying
you?
to think of something else, yeah, and I just decided to leave it.
Well,
You know.
see, I'm not talking about the blade can't cut with no hand on the handle. That's fine.
No,
But I'm a
actually,
cigarette.
That's my favorite part. And
What?
now that I think of it, it's probably the best part of the poem.
Do you? Well,
Yeah.
see, what
Love-
my
love
best part.
hate.
No, I
Contentment with it. And
see. I go so crazy. This is how I go. And with a cigarette lighter, cigarette lighters to me are everything from smoking cocaine to the torture. And you see this. I used to work with a lot. I used to work with children who were abused, and invariably, one of the torture things parents did was use cigarette lighters on their kids. And that's just such an ugly wound, and you see it. And so that takes me to that takes my mind to some ugly things I've seen, and so and that's why this poem is so good, because it affects me a whole lot different. Most people hear cigarette lighter don't think that I think, what I think,
yeah.
But at my job, I've seen that so many times, And
Well, I think that's a lot of the tools mentioned, or the things mentioned in the poem. They're not like good or bad. There's not this black or white, like this is a good
no,
thing
no.
and that's a bad thing. Because like a cigarette lighter is a tool, and it can be used for horrible purposes. It can also be used to light your campfire when you're lost in the woods. It's also
Sure
just
can,
a
yeah.
handy thing to have around. So like, that's that sort of line. It's complex. You are a lot
Very.
of things. I don't know.
That's really good because see, all of us have different interpretations of that cigarette lighter, and that's what a poem's supposed to be. It's not supposed to be. It's supposed to take me into my own self, Yeah. This is so much to read.
So you didn't have any sort of ulterior motive when you were writing this, or?
I don't remember really writing it, and then I don't know. I write a lot of stuff, but then I kind of read it to myself, and after I read it, it was like, oh, this doesn't even suck, And then I think if I would guess, because almost your guess is as good as mine, why I wrote it, but I think since I know myself kind of well, going through a self-examination type thing, what am I? Who am I in this world? What am I to myself? And where should I stand? And it's I'm a dinosaur. I'm a cigarette lighter. That's as good as anything,
Sure.
That's as good as any explanation I could come up with. Oh, am I an anarchist? Am I a cowboy? Am I a skateboarder? Am I an American? Am I this? Am I that? It's I'm a dinosaur just as much as anything else,
Yeah, it sort of puts the lie to trying to be a thing rather than just to act.
Wow.
And so you can be everything and be nothing. It's more what you do about it.
Yeah. But I don't know. It was just kind of fun to write. It was just it wasn't really an intellectual exercise. It was just more all right, here's some cool things. That's what I am.
Yeah, but each one of them reveals something about your mental state at the time, which is what's kind of fascinating about that sort of stream of consciousness type stuff.
I'm lost in this poem, man. I'm lost. You want to read it again?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, this is really a complex poem. So, to me. And because it's causing me, just looking at it and hearing it, is causing me to,
Okay.
look at it differently.
I am a dinosaur. I am a sea creature. I was a person. I am not really your friend. I'm this dull pencil. Birds' sharp beaks bark like dogs from a million years ago, with the first humans and you. And I am keys. I am birds. I am your coffee shop. You are nothing. I am not you. Please. Sick, slayer, fuck, dope, dread. I am a dinosaur. A T-Rex to be exact. I am a fucking knife. The blade can't cut with no hand on the handle. I am a cigarette lighter. I am a sea creature, hating when good hats get old and nothing fits right. I am a motor in Greece. I am your friend. I love you. I am Herman Melville, alive and inspired. I am fire and smoke and wood and the smell in clothes. I am secrets. I am wood chopped and cut. I am air. I am nothing. You are so glorious. I wish I could weep in your glory. I love you. Kill me with a knife because evolution is a scam. I am a pizza fresh out the oven. I am fucking love of all kinds. I am syringes and their contents. I am a functional family. I am beauty unappreciated. I am a big wave surfer. The moon is my food. I am the grains. I am the grains in wood and fire. I am technology. I am a dinosaur. I wish you would kill me. I am Charles Bukowski and don't even want to be. I am totally awakened and present. I am a peasant. I am that. So so what? I am extinct. I am your eyes. I.
And of course, the end part is so good. Is I am extinct. I am your eyes. I am I. And so you leave me going. What I am I. And I keep playing that, you know? Keep playing that. But I forgot the part that I liked best, I didn't mention to you, was I'm not really your friend. I'm this dull pencil. Birds, sharp beaks, bark like dogs from a million years ago. But this dull pencil and birds' sharp beaks bark like dogs from a million years ago. Wow, I heard that and I thought, what's he mean by this? And I see the dull pencils, I see the beaks, and then the dogs, and the dogs are been from millions of years ago, you know? I mean, the whole connection of the incongruence of the whole thing is so good. And then my favorite love part of this poem, too,
It's
is...
almost like MC Escher. It's like things are floating into each other.
Yeah,
Flowing
there you
into,
go.
Like, that particular section of the poem, like the birds turn into the dogs in my mind, which is kind of awesome.
Uh-huh. Yeah. And then you got the beak, and you got the dull pencil, and they're so much different, but yet it does flow together into the damn dog barking. Yeah, I love it. I love it. But then my, the other one that geez. Talking about, I weep in your glory. What part was that? It was, I weep in your glory. Damn. I should have marked it down.
It's on page 3.
Page 3? Okay. Read it, because you got it before me. Yeah. You're so glorious. I wish I could weep in your glory. I love you. Kill me with a knife, because evolution is so...
Is a scam.
Okay, is a scam. Okay. But I could weep in your glory. And if somebody would say that to me, that is just something, you know. That's almost a Christ-like feeling, you know. And like the most powerful, one of the most powerful words I've ever read was Jesus wept, you know. Now I'm not a Christian or nothing, but when he said Jesus wept, I love that, you know. I could weep in your glory. Wow. You guys are doing good. Well, we only got a little bit of time left, so I'm going to read one poem of mine, and then we got to Hopefully Xavier will come and take our picture like he's supposed to. But and this is And Tonight. Harvest Moon, Slow Dancing, Gene Kelly, Pulsing, the Funhouse Mirrors, and your blown up pupils. Now my reflection is nowhere near Fred Astaire, more Freddie the Freeloader. Hypnotic died it up for weeks. You have more illusion and such a lady, and they'll last a while longer. Cataract and reflection flood you. White fluorescent lights.
I love the juxtaposition of the moon and the fluorescent lights. Like, was the moon always the fluorescent lights all along? Or was it really the moon? Everything is just illusory, and I really like that connection.
I'm glad you see it that way, Jennifer, because Harvest Moon, Slow Dancing is so romantic, and then you get I Haven't Got It Up for Weeks, and then you got these fucking fluorescent lights, which are probably at least, I mean, one of the ugliest things you can ever see.
They can be as bright as the moon, because the building next to where I live has fluorescent lights on it, like 2 in the
And
morning.
what an ugly comparison to have, darling. Jesus Christ. Oh, wow. You know, in Tucson, you talking about your ride to Tucson?
Yeah.
In Tucson, they have they have a light ordinance.
Right, they do. 'Cause of
Okay,
the
you know that.
observatory.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
I'm
lived there
talking
for a while.
Okay,
Yeah.
and it's so cool. Tell everybody about this, because this knocks me out.
Well, in Tucson, there's 2 observatories. There's one on the university campus in town, and then Kitt Peak National Observatory is a few miles out of town. And well, light pollution has obviously increased a lot over the years just because of cars and everything. But they have a light pollution ordinance, so all the lamps either have a thing that makes them point downwards, or they're like this yellow light, and it's actually really nice. If you're walking around, things are much more like pretty at night. You know, the sort of yellowish golden glow on the cacti and the old adobe buildings and stuff, rather than the harsh normal street lamp light. It makes you feel safer walking around at night, actually, which is illusory, of course, but it's still a
It's
warmer feeling.
incongruent, but it makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
You know, that's why see, you're hitting the nail on the head. The incongruence of what we think make us safe, and all the police, everybody has all these damn lights on, and you can't walk through an alley without getting lights being flashed at your ass.
Yeah.
You know, and so it's supposed to be making you safe, and don't make you feel safe at all. And yet the softness of Tucson, and who doesn't love Adobe? I mean, who does not love Adobe houses? I mean,
It's hard to maintain, but yeah, it's really pretty.
well, you know, I don't live, I live there, I have to
They're really
maintain.
awesome.
Yeah.
But it's just so beautiful.
Well, and compared with like the more modern constructed houses, they just stay cool better in the summer, warmer in the winter. It's just a better way to do it.
Yeah, Jeb, I like the brevity of this poem. You know, like the poem I wrote was like just kind of rambling. This one seems more contemplative, and I don't know. It took you less time to say a lot. It seems like there's a lot of stuff going on in there. I mean, there's a lot of like vibrancy, but it almost seems like, you know, there's a lot of light, and you know, like your blown up pupils. So I mean, that means there's bright lights. You know, like your pupils dilate, and bright light, and you know, the fluorescent lights, reflections, and but really there's kind of this undertone of, even though there's all these bright lights and Fred Astaire and Gene Kelly and a Harvest Moon and all this stuff, there's some loneliness going on below it, you know.
And there's something you don't know, Mark, that right before this, when I wrote this poem, I did, old people get cataracts. So I had my cataracts removed. So I spent a long time just looking, you know, I have real bad vision, and my cataract removed. And when you have your cataracts removed, you can see. Like I had 2400 vision, and now I got like 2400, or 40 rather, like a normal person basically, you know? And that was such a, that was like a wow, now I can see. And tying it in with my impotence for the last 2 weeks, and now I can see, you know? And every man knows that they spend their life thinking about their penis, you know? All the time. Every man does. you know, and that is just like, wow, I can see, you know, and it's just how, you know, to me this is just a love poem to myself, because even though I'm not Fred Astaire, and more like Freddie the Freeloader when I couldn't get it up, but now the illusion is such a lady. It will last a while longer, cataract and reflection, and flood you with fluorescent lights. And like every love affair, at first we see each other in the moon, and then the fluorescent lights come on, and then we see each other as we are, but hopefully not too often. Yeah.
It's a very tightly constructed poem, and I like the parallelism carries itself like into each new stanza. You get something a little bit from a stanza before it. So you have the film reference in the first stanza carries over into the second, and then you have the reflection and the mirror carry over into the third stanza of the illusion, and then you tie back to the first stanza, the lights and the light, and it's just much more elegant than my poem, for sure. And it's that whole, like, it does leave you wondering, was it, you know, what was it all along? And you can see again, but what is it that you're seeing?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Exactly. Because you don't want to see, I mean, the last thing you want to do, unless maybe you're a porn star or something, I guess, want to make love in fluorescent lights, you know? Yeah. I mean, you know, I don't like the lights off or anything weird like that, but I like a soft glow, and you get the whole texture and all that kind of thing. So each one of our poems have been very much love poems, you know, very much love poems, you know, and that train and that touch. I mean, like I said before, your poems are so sensuous, you know, and I've heard some of your poetry, and I want you all back on again. Next week we're going to have, and I'm looking forward to this. We're going to have a new school rapper,
Oh, cool.
and old school Renaissance, Harlem Renaissance, which is a long time before your time. But Harlem Renaissance was, they were more, closest thing people your age would know would maybe be doo-wop, but it's I don't know if you know what doo-wop is, but
Oh, I've studied a lot of history. So.
okay, so it's that kind of and both are, and basically I tell you,
Checker.
Jesus Christ, we're talking Harlem Renaissance. We're talking about
Benny
Like
King.
okay, Benny King era, but Harlem Renaissance
Langston
poetry.
Hughes.
There you
Yeah.
go. There you go, darling. So you know exactly what I'm saying. Tell Mark what Skip Hughes is, because this is so cool.
Well, Langston Hughes, I'm sure you've read it. Like
Yeah, Langston Hughes,
A Raisin in the Sun. You know what
Yeah.
happens.
Yeah.
To, or what happens to a dream deferred.
Yeah.
Kind of,
Yeah, I've read
kind of
that
thing.
before.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So you know, and that is the best. That's the best thing, and there was a whole big movement, you know, and it was oh Lord, I
And
can't
it
tell
certainly
you.
had a lot of influence on white poets, like the Beat poets.
Oh
were
yeah.
Heavily influenced by that movement. So
It's kind of like the British rockers were so
Right.
heavily influenced by Muddy Waters, you know.
absolutely.
Okay. Hey, Xavier, you got to turn off this thing for us, because we're supposed to close. Xavier. Jesus.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know how you turn this off, because it's got to be closed off now.
Well, Jeb, thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Well, open up the door. Julie will turn it off for us, and we can say our goodbyes and
I
all.
wish we could have had more talk about anarchy itself.
Well, I didn't want this thing to be about anarchy. I want your poetry. Julie, I don't know how to turn this off or how to do all this stuff.
Thanks for having
Julie?
us on, Jeb.
Yeah, Julie, this is Mark and Jennifer,
Hi.
and this is this is my the reason I chose to be here was because how Julie and her writers are. She does songwriters, and it's extraordinary your work, and I've said that every time. You know, and this is what I highly recommend for y'all to listen to. It knocks me for a loop. So all right, Mark, I love you.
You too, man.
Jennifer, I love you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, you know how to take care of this, darling?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Here,
Julie's been doing this, and she's a real pro. So I want to give you a little extra time.